Hello, welcome back to Roy's Workshop. Today we're doing something a little bit different. I've got the sun streaming in my eye, so I'm going to turn around. Here's our TEA, and we've got a slight problem. If I show you under here, you can see on the drain just there on the split pin, it's leaking engine oil. And it made, if you have a look at our Instagram, this will probably be about a week or so ago, it left a massive oil stain on the floor when I stopped for some lunch, so we can't be doing that. There's a problem with the clutch as well. The clutch is sticking. When I depress the clutch, it's not disengaging, so I suspect it's got the original clutch in it, which doesn't have holes through the rivets to stop that from happening. It's a quite common thing on these. So what we're going to do is we will fire it up. We'll take it into the workshop. We'll ditch the roller, of course. We'll take it into the workshop and it looks like we're going to be splitting it. I've not split a Fergie before, so we'll see how we go. I can't see it being too much of an issue, but we can get parts. We can get parts really easily, which is really good. Quite pleased. And yeah, we'll split it and we'll see what happens. Hopefully we'll be okay. Back in a moment. So here's the Fergie outside the workshop. I've only left it for maybe about an hour, and there you can see oil at the back and some oil at the front. The rear oil, that is transmission oil. It smells like EP90. It's bloody horrendous. And the front one is engine oil. So I've ordered all the gear that I need. Special thanks to Mayhill Tractors. They've supplied everything that I need, and it should be here within the next couple of days, which is great. I really appreciate it, and they're a good local company. And I've also ordered a whole load of other parts. I need to change all the pipes on the carburetor. All the rubber pipes, they're all perished. The water pipes are just starting to go. The tappets need doing, so whilst it's in, I'm going to do a whole load of work to it and get it right. I'm also going to service it, of course, just because I want it. I really like this because it is turnkey. I can leave it for however long, jump on it, put a battery on it, hit the button, and she'll be away. So obviously I want that reliability built in. That's one of my big things. Is everything that I have needs to be able to just jump in it, turn the key and go. Much like the Morris, you got the Morris there. She pull the choke out, hit the fuel, let it go, and she'll go. The same Discovery, the series behind it, and obviously the 90. The 90 is running a lot better now. But everything that I want, it needs to be turnkey. I can't be having machines or vehicles that are able to do a certain job and then not be there when I want it. So reliability is a big thing for me. So what I've done is, I'll take the wire off. This is the throttle setting wire when I've got the log chopper on. So what I've done is I've sprayed it all with TFR, traffic film remover, a strong detergent. I'm going to wash it all off. Everything that I'm going to open, I'm going to wash it all off. This tractor hasn't been split for a number of years, and I believe it's got the original clutch in it still. The reason I say that is it sticks, the clutch sticks on, and I may have said it in a previous video, but I'll say it again. When you're driving along, it's perfectly fine. It engages perfectly fine. It can be a little bit juddery, and it can be a little bit abrupt, but that's fine. What makes me say that it has the original clutch in it is when you're driving along and you want to come to a stop, it sometimes runs on, it just keeps going, and you have to slam on the brakes to disconnect the drive there. And what I believe is happening is on the original clutches, they had solid rivets holding the asbestos plate, friction plate, onto the pressure plate in the flywheel. And I think what happens is a little bit of grease or oil gets in there, and when you engage the clutch, obviously the clamping forces close up the pressure plate onto the friction plate. And what happens is when you press the clutch and the pressure plate comes away, is that there's suction between the rivets and the flywheel, and obviously that keeps drive going. So you have to stamp on the brakes, just a quick, sharp, abrupt stomp on the brakes, and it does disconnect the drive. I've asked a couple of people, and a lot of people sort of not too sure about it, but watching a video yesterday night, Bundy Bear down in Australia, thanks very much to him, because he's given me an awful lot of information about the clutches and what I need to do. I'll put a link in the description for him, because he is quite funny, and I quite like all of his stuff. So yeah, he's an inspiration of mine. And he mentioned about the clutch sticking and how it used to happen. He used to drill through the rivets back when he was an apprentice. He used to drill through the rivets to stop this from happening. So I don't know what clutch is in it. We don't know anything about the gearbox. Even the previous owner, George, he's never split it. So this will be the first time for a number of years it's been split. So let's wash it off and let's get it into the workshop for a good bit of TLC. So there's the tractor in. This is probably going to be its resting place for some time. I'm going to spread this out over 2 or 3 episodes, I think, because it is quite an in-depth job. And we'll go from there, really. The back end, my principal plan is the back end's going to stay roughly here. And then I'm going to split it and push the engine forward. And we've still got enough room to get around. And if anything else comes up whilst we're doing this job, we can still got enough room probably to do something else should another thing come up. We'll see. So now I'm gonna get the axle stands out and I'm gonna get some boards. I'm gonna get it all about level so it's ready to split. I'm probably gonna strip it down a little bit more than what you would need, but I'd rather, because I'm doing a whole load, like a big work package, I'd rather get everything off and out the way and stored somewhere else safe than have it risking it being damaged being in here. So I think to that end, I'm probably gonna take the bonnet off. And then we'll go through it. I'll show you along the way. We'll be back in a little bit. So a bit of an update then. I've undone the steering arms and the front arms to the front axle. Obviously I've drained the water out. I'm going to replace the pipes anyway, that's why I've done it. You don't have to do it if you're just splitting your tractor. I've taken off the temperature gauge wire because obviously that I'm going to keep it connected to the gauge. I've disconnected the oil pressure feed pipe. She's down there. There's a bit of wiring, it's exposed that the bit of wiring's been getting crushed in between the bonnet and the radiator, so I'll redo that whilst I'm there. I've got the front support in for the gearbox. Obviously this needs to be properly supported, and actually it's worked out really well. So I've put our axle stands at their lowest setting with a piece of 2-inch box and this beautifully thin piece of plywood. That is the perfect size. It is just about the right size. So I'm very, very happy with that. And where it is located, it is directly below the gantry. So if I do need to move it to reconnect it, I can lift it up and down on the gantry, which is quite nice. But I don't think I will. So I think next is to start undoing all the bolts around the flywheel. We'll get the engine properly supported as well, of course. And then it's just to be slow time, pulling everything apart and making sure that everything's clearing as it should. We've taken the starter motor out. You probably saw me having a good look in there. The starter motor, down on the actual starter motor on the spring itself, there is a light missing of oil. And it does smell like gear oil. So that is looking like we're heading in the right direction. But I'll carry on with the time lapse and we'll see where we end up. I think today we'll just get it split, we'll get everything ready and cleaned down, and we'll go from there. Until the parts come from Mayhill Tractor, we'll have to just wait and see, won't we? Back in a moment. So before we disconnect it altogether, I've undone the throttle down here at the governor end, and I've obviously marked 2 black lines on something dark. Brilliant, but hey, it's what I've done. So this throttle linkage should slide out nice and easily. We have a little bit of room on there, so we can split it and then go back to it. Obviously the exhaust has come off, all the electrics are off. I've left, there's one bolt either side in. You can see the jack has the weight. I've snapped that piece of plywood in half and doubled it over, so it's a little bit higher than what it was. So hopefully that should be okay. Obviously the arms are off, the battery's off, everything's off on this side. I'm just doing a quick once over. All the electrics are off, all the electrics down here. You've got the lighting harness, that's for the starter motor, and obviously for the coil, there's the temperature sensor. Or sender, really, it's not sensor. I've disconnected, there was 2 bolts in between the battery tray and the fuel tank, taken them off. So now essentially there's nothing holding, he says, looking around hopefully, there's nothing holding the front end to the rear end. So now what I'm going to do is I'll set the camera up, take out the last 2 bolts that are holding it all together, and hopefully it'll be okay. And then just like that, it's split in 2. Rolls nice. So I did hit a bit of a problem. The way I had the axle stand with the beam across it, it was too high. So it was sort of pinching at the bottom, and it wasn't. It needs to be perfectly straight and level for it to come apart. So I had to get the gantry out, take the weight with the gantry to get everything out of the way, and then I can, obviously with the gantry, got a lot more control over the level of the rear end. And then, yeah, may have forgotten about the oil pressure, but that's all right. I sort of heard a copper pipe move, as you would, and then I realised, yes, the oil pressure feed. Also done the, what else did I do? Tapped the throttle. Obviously that needed to come out. A lot of things are happening around the same sort of time, but once we tapped this loose, then it rolled forward, and I heard the union hit the dashboard, and I was like, oh yes, forgot about that. And then now that's loose, that's all out of the way. So now I can push the front end right out of the way, which I'll attempt to do now. It's a little bit more tricky because the front wheels, now they have a mind of their own. But Jacques is working very well. He's holding up perfectly fine. And let's have a bit of a look. Oh yes, dirty. Oh, bearing sounds fine. Bit of play on the input shaft. So what we'll do, I'll show you what's going on. So that's a good idea. So I'm going to split up this episode into 2. We're going to have part 1 and part 2, just because I don't want you getting too bored. So I think we'll end it here. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.